analysis with over 70 years combined experience. This is the Bob Ryan and Jeff Goodman podcast. NBA, some college, a little bit.
It's time for the Bob Ryan, Jeff Goodman, Tangway along for the ride pod on CLNS Media, brought to you by Prize Picks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of the CLNS Media Network. Pick more, pick less with Prize Picks. All right, Jeff, good to see you. Bob, good to see you as well. Jeff, let's start with you. We know you've been very busy on the college scene. Quite frankly, you look a little tired. I'm not going to say you look like shit. You just look a little beat up, okay?
Yeah. Not a lot of sleep these days. There's a lot going on.
That's because you've been working and Bob and I have not. So we'll start with you. You can't say themselves and you can't say health. The Celtics' biggest obstacle, because right now they seem to have righted the ship.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they've kind of flipped it a little bit here, and they're shooting the hell out of the ball lately. That helps. To me, I don't know. Like, there are a few possibilities. I'll go with the Cleveland Cavs just because they've looked dominant this year. I mean, again, they got 10 losses all year. I know even myself, I'm not completely bought into they scare me. But they've got enough really good young talent, high character guys. The pieces fit, and they've proven it over the course of the year. I mean, you could go with the Knicks, but the Celtics have kind of, again, made it fairly clear that they're a notch above the Knicks when they've played them this year. And then you can go over to the West and Oklahoma City. Yeah, can Denver turn it on? I just feel like Cleveland's done it all year. And they've earned it. They've earned that respect at this point. I know they haven't done it when it's mattered in the postseason, but you just look at, I mean, again, like Evan Mobley and Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. They got a lot of young dudes that don't seem to get rattled by big moments.
They also made a significant pickup at the trading deadline. They needed a little more depth, and they found a good guy. I've always been he's been on my radar screen since he was at UVA, speaking of DeAndre Hunter. And that's a good pickup. They're deeper than they were when the season started. They have had the best run of the whole, they've been the best team. They've been playing at a certain level from the start, okay? And they have earned the best record in the league that they have. Doesn't mean, as we know, diddly squat for the playoffs until they do it. We know that. That's the history of all playoff-oriented sports, which includes now even baseball. But they've been. If you're going to go and who's had the best season, if we're just on paper, Cleveland. I'm not afraid of them. Celtics don't have to be afraid of them. Celtics have played them, but they've been. But they're legit. You have to take them very seriously. I know you're an executive, if not the president, but you're on the board of governors of the Evan Mobley fan club. I know that. Just like I'm the regional president of the Clayton Pritchard fan club, So I understand that. And they've earned it, everything. And the backcourt is explosive. It's dangerous. Must be taken very seriously. And they got sneaky guys like Jerome, they are well coached. So they're totally for real.
But what about Oklahoma City and the big man, Bob? You were talking about them getting their center back.
Oh, they're just getting started in their mind now because they got Holmgren and they're working them in. And I noticed he had a 19-point game the other day. Not that he's out there to score, but he just standing around, he's a problem for other teams on defense. He's seven, whatever the hell, seven, and he plays big. He plays tall. We know about the body. We don't know about the long-term future for him. Same with, that's very problematic. But he gives them a dimension that they didn't have while they were, running out to this record they have. I'm taking them seriously. I mean, those are the two obvious threats to the Celtics. Yeah, I would say without question. The Knicks, I think we've exposed the Knicks, and I was on their bandwagon. And they're so a team. Some night they might go out and get 150. They got firepower, and there's no doubt. But they can't defend at the championship level. They haven't even come close to defending at a championship level yet. So that's why they're not. They're not the threat.
Jeff, I wonder, because of the low post that Bob just talked about in the finals, does that give the Thunder a leg up? Because I don't know how the Celtics have done against that matchup.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about keeping Chet healthy to me. And you're going to have to do that maybe the rest of his career and protect him. He's already had, two significant injuries. I love what Jalen Williams has done. I mean, Sam Presti, Emerson's finest, has done one hell of a job drafting. He's taken the easy ones, Kevin Durant, number 2 years ago, and Russell Westbrook, he took when a lot of people thought that might have been a reach. And then he goes Jalen Williams out of Santa Clara, and it's been a major fight. I mean, this kid is an all-star level player this early in his career, and you got Chet, and you got maybe the best player in the NBA, in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I think, the Joker would have something to say about that, but they're 1A and 1B right now. So you have a dude that you put the ball in his hands and you trust to make a play for himself or for others. And again, I think Oklahoma City and Cleveland are very similar, right? They haven't proven it yet. They got great young talent. Obviously, Oklahoma City's got the true superstar. I think Cleveland's got more balance. I think Oklahoma City has that dude who can just take over a game. Donovan Mitchell can be that guy, but I don't quite trust him to be that guy like I do Shai.
I'm not going to contest anything you say there. They intrigue me, and you're right about SGA has been tremendous, without question. It's funny because our guy, there's been a lot of years in the past with what Tatum is doing would have made him an easy candidate, and the best he can hope for is third this year, no matter what he does. I mean, that's not taking away. We love him. I love him. I appreciate him. I hope people appreciate him. I'm just saying, but these other two guys are making, historic seasons, particularly Jokic.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff, while you were busy actually working and Bob and I were just hanging out, my take on Tatum, I basically stole from you, which is I wouldn't want any other player right now in the finals because of what you talked about. And the ability that he can rebound. And we've seen that lately as well. I mean, to see 11 rebounds, like to look at a box score and see Jason Tatum along with 25 points, 20, and like 11 rebounds, it's not unusual. And when I look at the field and I look at, SGA, and then, you mentioned you look at Cleveland, the Celtics guy can do a number of things. And that's why I like Tatum above the field.
And he's been there. He's been there. He's already done it, right? Like Donovan Mitchell hasn't done it yet. I love Jalen Brunson, hasn't done it yet. There may be a moment when they do it, but I think there's a true value in already having done it, going through those moments, not getting rattled. I mean, that's the one thing with Tatum too. You watch him, like he's like this.
Right.
It may be to a fault for a lot of people, but to me, that's a big advantage I think he'll have going through it again this year.
I think the fact that they had the rocky path, they being he and Brown, and but those two particularly, that they had to get to the top, they've absorbed the lessons so well. I mean, they truly talk about paying dues and having a legitimate, heartbreak, and different finals or different playoff before they got done last year. That hardened them, and that taught them a lot of lessons. And it's something that a lot of most teams along the way do that. I'm just thinking in my head right now, the dues that the Chicago Bulls paid, they had to get by the Pistons 40 years ago, and they did finally, and off they went. So you got to clear the hurdles. It's very rare that you just go from 0 to 60 without some kind of a bump in the road.
All right, coming up, guys, we're going to talk about the Pistons, Lakers, and Golden State. And Bob has a Pritchard tale. What else is new? But right now, I got to tell you about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. Over 10 million members and billions of dollars in award winnings. Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. Prize Picks now offers MasterCard for quick and easy deposits into your account this sports season. And again, you can win up 1,000 times your money on Prize Picks. Prize Picks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineup. Prize Picks is the best way to win real money this basketball season. Which players are going off? Which ones aren't? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on Prize Picks. Hey, how about Jason Tatum for 29 points? How about Jason Tatum for more than 12 rebounds? That's what I'd be taking for this guy. How about that? Or Luka for more than 8 assists. Download the app today and use CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today and use CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Okay, let's get back to it. Bob, from
Yes, sir.
We Didn't See It Coming department, how about those Detroit Pistons?
How about those Pistons? I just want to give a preface here so people fully understand the enormity of what's going on here and the shock value. Okay, first of all, let's back up. At the beginning of this 21st century, I'm going to give you the first 7 years of the 21st century for the Detroit Pistons. Ready? Win totals: 50, 50, 54, 64, 53, 59. They were pretty damn good. I'm going to now give you the last 10 years of the Detroit Pistons. 44, 37, 39, 41, 20, 20, 23, 17, 14, and now 32. They have won more games this year than the last 2 seasons put together. This is, this team was horrible. They were just wretched, and now, with the Celtics are playing them tonight, and it's a game, that I'm looking forward to, and because of they're playing great. And I got to go right to our friend Mr. Goodman here, and say, tell me anything you can about anything you know about having seen the youthful Cade Cunningham.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys remember. I'd love to go back and play what we talked about years ago with Cade when he was coming out of college. But
Because you were right? Is that why you want to play it? Because you were right?
I'm wrong a lot. I was not wrong on Cade Cunningham. This kid is like a winner. I remember the first times I saw him playing on the AU circuit. I was just like, this kid is just the absolute winning type of player. Big, strong guard, not a great shooter, but just impacts winning at such a high level. Can get to the basket whenever he wants. He guards. So I was kind of surprised. Not that, I didn't think they'd be great, but I thought they'd be better than they were. But yeah, I think part of it was the culture there as much as anything. And they had to make a move on their they fired Troy Weaver, brought in Trajan Langdon. And I think and Monty Williams, it didn't work out with him. Let's face it. That was not a good fit. So, the surprising part is Jaden Ivey's been out for a while here. They continue to win with a bunch of guys that you look at and you're like, okay, I know about Cade Cunningham, but most people like Malik Beasley, I don't really know much about him. Tobias has been really good, really solid. Jalen Duren's a kid that I kind of question coming out. They've taken fewer risks. They took a ton of risks under Troy Weaver, rolled the dice, ton of guys. They've taken fewer risks now. And I think that's paid off, and Cade's gotten older and a little bit more experienced. And, listen, he's a superstar in this
Well,
league.
the numbers, just so people know, right now, 25.8, 6.3 rebounds, and here's the one that got my attention, 9.5 assists a game.
He's awesome.
Leading assist man in the NBA. And he's, this kid had overcome major injury issue. Yep. Played 12 games in 22-23, I believe it was. Played 12 games. And here he is, fulfilling everything. And, good for him. You mentioned the Langdon's manipulations. Tobias Harris that's one of those guys. When we weren't looking this year, guys, he's averaging 14 points a game.
Great vet to bring in, because
absolutely,
he's a good team guy. He's been there, he's done that. He helps out a lot of these young guys because it's a young team.
Yeah.
I mean, the core of this team is very young.
And then he brought in another veteran on having a very interesting year. I'd like to sit down and talk to him about what's been going on. Dennis Schroeder on his third team this year, after playing well for the Nets, but got included, in that deal with all the machinations. He went out in LA, didn't really want him. And now he's with Detroit. and we'll see what happens there. Another interesting pick, Tim Hardaway Jr., who moves around. He's averaging 11 points a game for them. And then here's one, Oscar Thompson. It looks like that. And the brother has played well too. They were making their mark, and amen. And here's Oscar with 9.4. But so there's some good roster manipulation, and we got to credit the mentor, right? JB. Clearly, JB Bickerstaff is selling something that they're buying, guys. There's no question.
Now we move on to the Lakers post deal, where we saw Luka have a triple double against his old team. What'd you think about that, Bob?
It was modest. 19, 15, 12, I think it was, something like that.
Typical.
Oh yeah, I mean it's look. I watched that game the other night against Denver, and I didn't see last night, but I did see that game against Denver, and it was a preview of coming attractions for what the Lakers' rest of the season is going to be, I think. And now they still have to overcome the fact that they don't have a quality big. You're not going to go to Jackson Hayes, and all that. But thing is, it's a league where you can get away with this now at times, but I'm impressed. And I think one of the keys, and I'm not alone in this, I'm parroting that, by the way, is that I don't think you have to worry about the fact that LeBron and Luka will be an excellent pair. That LeBron will make this work. I'm telling you. Yeah. And he can adjust. He will. And he wants to desperately. And Luka's happy as a pig. And you know what? Right now, I think with this playing with LeBron, who he admired and idolized, coming out of Slovenia. And one thing is they need to make sure that they don't allow a slippage for Austin Reeves, who had been playing very, very well. And they got the Carter Finney. So
Dorian Finney-Smith, yeah, Dorian Finney-Smith.
They are. They're going to be heard from. I didn't want to say that before, but there's no question now. To me, they're going to be heard from.
Yeah, I mean, you go from Gary playing with Kyrie to playing with LeBron. That's a big win. That's a big win for Luka in just kind of learning. Again, Kyrie's gotten better. He has. But when you're playing with LeBron, you're just going to be all those things that have been questioned about Luka. To me, hopefully in the year, maybe two, that they play together, hopefully, Luka will be a different player in terms of how he takes care of his body, his preparation, all that, because LeBron is the ultimate pro and all that. And as you said, Bob, like, how could you possibly worry about these two playing together? Because all they do is, when they want to, make teammates better. Like, that's at the core. Now, Luka plays with the ball a little bit more and, dribbles a little bit more. But again, I think he's going to learn from LeBron. He's going to learn a lot from LeBron. And then when LeBron does retire and this franchise is basically handed off to Luka, I think they're going to be in a much better place because Luka is going to be a different type of player in a year and a half, 2 years.
LeBron is going to set a record for most sneak-away baskets by a 40-year-old as long as Luka's around. I mean, Luka is a master of the outlet pass. He's got 24 X-ray vision, and LeBron has already figured out, if I run that floor, I got two. And you're going to see a lot of that. We are seeing it. You're going to see an endless stream of those.
Now, Jeff, what have you heard? Bob and I, of course, had our own opinions, but about why the deal was made from Dallas. There's been a report now. Our buddy Mark Spears reported that Jaylen Brown's dominance of Luka in the finals had something to do with this. What have you heard? Is there anything else underneath? Is there some juice? Is there some dirt on why this deal was made? Because obviously it is one-sided.
Yeah, I just think it was, as much as anything, not feeling like Luka's all the other things off the court were what they felt like would be able to lead them to a title, and again, Anthony Davis is a hell of a player. You just got to get him on the court and keep him on the court. But I think it was more everything about Luka off the court and his preparation. And that's why I said, like, with LeBron, it's perfect for him. He may not be perfect, but you would think it's hard not to learn from being around that guy every single day, and how to take care of your body, and how to be a good leader. And the only thing, the only bad thing about the two of them together is you probably have the two biggest whiners on the court to referees in the entire league now together.
Well, Luca,
Bob's head just popped off.
no, I love it because what do I see? But looking at clips this morning of last night's game, Luca whining. I mean, so
And
he's,
LeBron's right. If they're ranked, if you do a ranking of the top whiners in the NBA right now, I would say Luka's one and LeBron's probably two.
oh, by the way, speaking of whining and danger, the Ant-Man is too shy of a suspension. He's got 14 Ts.
That's a
Just
lot,
to
man.
point that out.
This is so bad now. And the problem is, again, they all when they were in high school and college watched, and it's gotten out of control. It's gotten out of control in the NBA with players in college. Actually, it's been better this year for the most part with college coaches. Dan Hurley was nuts at the beginning of the year. I just saw him at the Garden this past weekend against St. John's. We should talk a little bit before we're done on Rick Pitino, by the way.
Fine,
And it's just hard to watch. It's hard to watch. These guys don't shut up. And it's like the referees are human, understand it. They're going to make some mistakes, but stop whining, bitching, complaining all the time because honestly, it makes fans not like them. It's hard to like guys when all they do is bitch and complain.
We've got our too. I think they're getting marginally better, Jason and Jalen, but they've been in that club.
Oh yeah.
And, so, but anyway, the Lakers they're suddenly appointment TV.
Yeah.
What about Golden State, Bob? And I want to get back to Patino before we
Okay.
go. What about the Golden State?
Jimmy Butler, right away, and Jimmy Butler's it's going to have an effect. They are their last four games: 105 Houston 98, 132 Sacramento 108, 126 Dallas 102, and last night 128 Charlotte 92. And I think Butler is not the only, but Butler has had a very positive effect on this team. When he's motivated, we never doubted that he can play. When he's motivated and happy. Now, we don't know how long they'll keep him happy. I don't know what's going to set him off. But if they can keep him happy, whatever it takes, and Seth has flourished with him. Now they don't have a big either, still, a quality big, but they're going to be a tough, much tougher out now. And so they're going to be a fun team to watch too. Although for pure aesthetics, they're not going to match LeBron and Luka with their artistry, but they're going to be tougher. And Butler, reminding us once again, the man can play basketball. He knows how to play. You don't have to teach him much about how to play.
No, that's right. I mean, listen, if Jimmy Butler, and I wonder if he's heard it so much this year about like how he's a pain in the ass and all this. So he's out to kind of prove a point that, hey, I can be a winning player again. And when you go to Golden State, it's hard because Steph is like the golden boy, right? So you got to be careful stepping on Steph's toes in any way. Draymond's got this big personality. And then you got Steve Kerr, who again, you got to be very aware if you're Jimmy Butler right now. And Jimmy is super aware of the perception of Jimmy Butler. So he wants to win now because I think a lot of people over the last couple of years have, well, maybe Jimmy's not the winning player that we thought he was, there's a couple of years in Miami. So I think he's out to prove a point, and he's done it so far because he's not looking for his. He's just making people better and being that kind of, 3-and-D, like he can guard, he can put in the floor, he can make shots when he needs to, but he's not hunting for his numbers at all.
I think Jimmy Butler realizes that he needs help. And I think he shut up. I think that Jimmy Butler, you guys may know best, Jeff. I think that Butler, you take a look at history. I'm not sure about Minnesota to Chicago, but I think that he shot his way out of town every time because he thought he needed to be on a better team. I think that he felt he had gotten as much as he could out of the Heat. like they were never going to win it in Miami. So that's why he wanted to bail. I'm not saying that justifies it, but I think with Golden State now, he thinks he can win, so he'll put forth the effort.
I think there's a shelf life. I think there's a shelf life with Jimmy Butler. I do.
Yeah.
And the good thing is at this point, he's 36 years old. You know, you're going to get 2-3 years maybe in Golden State, have a chance to finish off your career on a positive note rather than that thing was certainly going in the wrong direction in Miami.
Another byproduct out there with him coming, I think it will, I don't know that he was stimulate Draymond. I think Draymond said, hey, we have a chance to be fairly good, pretty good now. I don't think Draymond, he's very realistic, I think. He knows they weren't going anywhere. But now, hey, maybe we can win a playoff round. What the hell? And you'll see who playing better, I think.
Jeff, let's get back to your story. I saw a clip of Rick Pitino's halftime speech. I can't remember who they were playing, but they were down. And he gave a speech, they came back and they won, which the speech was really incredible.
Yeah, he's doing they're doing like a documentary on Vice with him all year. And it is entertaining. And Rick is entertaining. I mean, you can't say he's not. But what he's done in year 2 at St. John's is remarkable. I mean, they're going to win the Big East regular season title at St. John's for the first time in 40 years, guys. 40 years. It's been back in the mid-'80s when you had Mullen and Bill Wennington running through the Garden.
And Walter Berry.
And what?
Walter Berry.
And Walter Berry, who's a hell of a player. They're not talented like those guys, but they are, 2 games up in the Big East right now. They play so hard on defense. They absolutely dominated, UConn. Not that UConn's great this year, but they're the 2-time defending national champs. And the Garden, the best part, guys, I was there for the whole weekend. I went to Villanova, Marquette first in Philly, and then I went to Duke, Illinois at the Garden on Saturday, and then Sunday at matinee was St. John's, UConn. Man, the Garden was so good. Both Saturday and Sunday, but especially Sunday for St. John's. Completely full. Those fans are out of their minds because they haven't had anything to cheer for in so long. I mean, again, you've had a few blips here and there, but nothing like, and he comes out of the locker room at the beginning of the game and he's got his suit and he looks like the mafia boss in New York. And at his age, to be relevant again after what he went through, Bob, which is, being, basically sequestered to Greece. And then he's got to come back and he owes a lot of it to Iona for taking a chance and bringing him back and getting him back into college basketball. But now I think he's super motivated to he'll go as long as he can, health-wise.
He looks good. He works out. He's a workout guy. He takes care of himself very well. I'm just thinking as you're talking, I just got through. I'm reading a book called Boston Basketball, which talks about Gary Williams, Jim Calhoun, and Rick Pitino and their paths. And because I was, around the ground floor. I wasn't covering the team per se, but I was involved in covering college basketball when he got the BU job when he was 25 years old. Leslie Visser was our envoy there. I'm sure she's got some very good stories.
Sure, Bob. She was there. She was at the game. I saw her.
I'm sure
we're going to get her in the pod in the offseason. We're going to get her on.
Many, 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 many other stories. But Pitino, I was present for his first tournament game, which was a doubleheader in the Palestra, in which they played LaSalle, and the other game was Princeton and North Carolina A&T. It was a transition phase of the tournament. They hadn't yet gone to 64. It was a play-in, but it really did count as a tournament. They counted. He's now about to take his 6th team to the tournament. 6. I mean, when he shows up, you win. That's been the case. You win games, and he hasn't changed his MO. Individual instruction, all kinds of details. He's detail oriented to the max, But he's right. He's revived St. John's. They have they're back being New York's team in college. They revived interest in college basketball in New York City. And you're right, when you packed the Garden, and I read about it, the raucous fans and how good it was. I'll just tell you this one more thing. In 1983, the Big East tournament was the first year they went to the Garden. When they started the Big East tournament in 1979, first one was in Providence, and they moved it around. I think they went to the Carrier Dome, and they got to New York in '83, and that's when they made an announcement during the course of the tournament that this would be the new permanent home of the Big East tournament. And everybody was moaning, "Oh my God, they're going to win every year." Well, guess what? That didn't happen. But they did win in '85, and they went to the Final Four. In '86, they won the tournament, and they won the conference again. And then, but that was the great fear 42 years ago, that they would win every year. And of course, no. Now the story is, wow, they're back, and they are back. They're number 7 ranked, highest ranking they've had in 40 years. And they're not pretty. They're a grinding, defensively oriented team. The big story with them there most of the year was, can they shoot well enough? They weren't shooting, but they're shooting better. And they got sufficient depth. But he is a remarkable story. It's hard. You can make a case that what he's done is the greatest college coaching career ever. You can make a case.
Well, I think that as a coach, we all know the one hiccup was with the Celtics.
Yeah.
And I was there. I covered it. Bob was around. Jeff, I'm not sure exactly where you were at the time, but
I was there.
I was there for the coronation. I walked with him across the street from the Garden. I went to all the press conferences. I got kicked out of a practice once. Because I was just a stupid me. I was in there, wrong place, wrong time. For the signing of Travis, what's his name from UConn, when the whole thing, and he just lost his way with the Celtics. He just forgot that he's just a coach. Like he fell into the Pat Riley trap. Yeah. He was consulting to you. Poor Greg Dickerson. I think he even approved the PA announcer. He had to approve the uniforms. He approved the sneakers. He approved everything. He lost his way. He wanted to be the CEO. Rick Pitino was one of the greatest coaches of all time. Period. End of story. I don't know all the numbers. I don't know the number of wins and all that stuff. But he's on the Mount Rushmore as a coach. He's on the Mount Rushmore. And because of that snafu with the Celtics, people forget about what he did with the Knicks.
Right.
Right, Bob?
And then he had his issues at Louisville, at the end of the Louisville
thing. He had his issues with Louisville, right? But if you hang around, I don't mean to dismiss the ethics of college basketball. Yeah. But if you hang around this business long enough, there's going to be some dirt. And the fact that like Krzyzewski got away clean, and it's just, look, there's dirt in the business. There just is. So I don't begrudge him for that. I really don't. I think.
Oh, he's an amazing coach.
He's an amazing coach. Is he a saint?
And at 72 years old,
he's a great coach.
What he's doing right now in college, when it's changed, and most Tony Bennett and Jay Wright got out because they can't handle all the bullshit.
Right.
Now he's got, the beauty for Rick is he's got Mike Rapoli, the horse racing guy, who will get whatever he wants money wise.
Yeah. He's
for NIL. So that's the beauty. They're going to have NIL. They don't have football at St. John, so they're going to invest all their money in basketball.
Yeah. Well, it's a great story.
Yeah, he's a great coach. Bob, before we go, you have a story about your
I just have info that I just was curious about, okay? Peyton Pritchard, who, by the way, I have filed the adoption papers. I haven't gotten the approval yet, so we'll see. But Peyton Pritchard, I wanted to get his background in Oregon. And he comes from a suburb, more or less, of Portland, and then the high school itself was called West Lynn, which is an offshoot of the town Tualatin. Okay. Gee, would it surprise you guys if I told you that in his 4 years at West Lynn High School, they won 4 state titles?
Not at all.
No.
How about that? And that, by the way, his father played football at Oklahoma. And his first thought about college was Oklahoma. He had 45 points in the Northwest Shootout, which is a Oregon versus Washington all-star extravaganza. And I think of course, he got the Bob Cousy Award in college as a senior, as the best point guard in America. And one more thing, I knew somebody, I didn't know who it was, Did you know who officiated at his wedding?
No idea.
Blake Griffin.
Really? What?
So there's a little tidbit info on my soon-to-be adopted son, Peyton Pritchard.
Well, I was at the HBO thing the other night. Bill Simmons, Celtics.
Yeah, how was that? How was it?
It was great. It was great. I mean, he did a really good job with the documentary, and it's hard with the series because it's hard with guys like us because we've heard all of the stories, but they got into the bad stuff. They got into the racial issues. They got into the issues with the city. They got into some issues between Parrish and Bird that I had never heard of. They really got into the darkness. Like it wasn't all woo. So that makes it interesting because we've heard all the good stories, right? So they did it, they did good. But I saw Pritchard, he showed up. And I mean, he looked great. He's dressed to the nines. But still, when you see the guy like on the street, you're like, that's the sixth man of the year?
Yeah, he's tiny. He is tiny. And as unassuming of a kid and player as you're going to find. And I remember seeing him. First time I think I saw him in person, I think he went for like 40. Oregon played in the PK 80 out in Portland. I was working at ESPN. I think he went for like 35 or 40. Just went crazy. Made shots from the logo and just doesn't look the part, but man, he gets it done.
Mark my words, he gets a sneaky offensive rebound every night.
He does.
He
you're right.
somehow did it last night and then pitched out to White for a three. A wonderful collaboration. He's tough. I'm telling you, it's Larry Siegfried combined with Eddie House.
There you go.
That's what he is.
Well, he the new money's treating him well because he looked good. Anyways, the Simmons thing is good. I can't remember when it's coming out on HBO, but
Monday, March 3rd.
Is it March 30th? It's really good because again, they don't sugarcoat stuff.
That's great.
So that's why it's good. And Bob Ryan's in it.
All that warts and all.
Of course he is. Come on. You
Shocking.
Can't do anything.
Jeff.
You can't do anything like that with the Celtics and in history without calling Bob.
Hey, and you know who else is in it? Shaughnessy, McMullen. It's amazing.
That's awesome.
It's amazing how they got those guys. I mean, you just give them a couple of donuts and a cup of coffee, they'll show up and do anything. All right, gents. Thank you so much. Jeff, we will talk to you next week. Bob, always a pleasure. Brought to you by Prize Picks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of the CLNS Media Network. Pick more, pick less.